This morning, Wei is gone again, and the window pane is frosted over. When I draw his reflection on the glass, I add a filter of googly eyes and fiery eyebrows, an AR emoji of my own. He loves it when I do that. I imagine him packing in the dark before he left, silently skulking in order not to wake me. On the side table is his note, all the alphabets huddling, shivering against each other. Off to Lonesome Hill, back in 2 weeks. Is Lonesome Hill imagined geography? Well, at least it isn't to Agony Peninsula or Desperate Strait. No chicken lo mein for him for 2 weeks, he won't like that. I met Wei at his first exhibition of Woebegone places. He painted aerial topologies and named them Sorrow Island, City of Disappointment, Trench of Failure, a hill called the Point of No Return. I looked at all these ill-named places. If these were real places, are they somebody's idea of a prank? Or was it a way to turn things around like a Chinese superstition? You call your baby ugly because only then will it grow up beautiful. When I turned around, there Wei was, looking at me from across the room. I told him my favorite painting of his was a street intersection, Heart's Desire and Broken Heart's Lane. A double heart, like the Chinese character of Double Happiness. Wei threw back his champagne and said, "People who fetishize the heart are bound to end up in these abstracted geographies, places on earth where other people with a tragicomic sense of failure try to amuse themselves." He said, "Look at these Chinese names. Translations for the West often demand such Eastern piquancy." I did look. He was right. Their Chinese names were less melancholic sounding. Wei loves maps. He pores over them, collecting names like stamps, marking their landscapes on foolscap, painting them in childlike swirls, drips and lines, white-tipped waves, brown studs of land, green foliage lines. We've been together now 4 years. Over time, by drips and drabs, I learned that when he was little, he often misbehaved. As punishment, his mother stuffed him into a waist-high porcelain urn. There, he dreamt up places called Terrible Mountain, Valley of Punitive Gloominess. There was a stunted pine tree on a ridge he could see in the distance, over the rim of the urn. Humpback pine, he called it. When he was 30 years old, the pine was struck down by lightning, and he began his Woebegone series. He called it his Yayoi Kusama epiphany, who painted dots to infinity. This was his compulsion to serenity. If you paint the same thing often enough, it loses power over you. A year ago, he discovered a place called Distress Gorge, a real place he had to see for himself. He said he would return in a week, but he didn't come home for 5. When he came back, he brought me a totem, a wooden woman with huge breasts and hips, a hole in her pubis. He locked her up in his studio, and I was only allowed in to wipe her down. His sudden disappearances began shortly thereafter. His notes of return were unreliable guides. Waiting, I fill my days with gardening. If I'm not planting the flower beds, I'm weeding or in the shed with the bulbs, seeds, and potted soil. I sneak into his studio and fill the hole in the wooden woman full with sunflower seeds. Wei comes home with another totem woman. In bed, he claws, marks, carves an emotive trail with lips and tongue, poking at the topography of my body, my breasts, which he calls twin peaks of harmony, my belly button, the vortex of fluff, my lips, the drunken cave, my vagina, the tunnel of doom. I slip in a diaphragm and call it my jade gate. As if possessed, he tries to gain entrance with fingers and tongue, and we decide the tunnel of doom needs a more auspicious name. When he leaves again, he calls me from a town called Abandon. its name reverberating like a Swiss alpine yodel, the wind shrieking into the phone. Wei screaming against the wind. Guess what? Seattle is only a 15-minute helicopter ride away. And I imagine Wei hopping into the cabin of one, shouting to the pilot that he needs a Starbucks iced caramel latte pronto. He brings back another totem. A witch woman, all long tresses and scary bug eyes. Her bottom lip flows past her neck like an elongated gully. Bless me mother, I call her, because every time I walk past I feel that she carries a curse of secret knowledge that seeps into all the nooks and crannies, the spaces in between. The call comes in the middle of the night. Wei is in a small town hospital in a place called Marina's Cove. He had broken his collarbone, falling out of a tree while trying to photograph some dwellings on the hill. Oh, and he also broke his leg in 5 other places. This will require steel rods. He may no longer scale heights and climb up dangerous ravines. Chinese Icarus brought down, and I can't move. I didn't go see him in the hospital. There are lots of nurses and I'm redundant. But when he's ready to come home, I prepare his studio for him, covering the unfinished canvases with a cloth. His 3 totemic women sculptures, though, I stand them in a row just by the door, wearing weaved rings of flowers on their heads, and hula skirts. His very own harem welcome home party. He's in a wheelchair when I see him. I sit and take his hand, big and hardened, skinned in patches, the veins blue like tributaries. Look at me, he says, still here. With a pen, I draw him a Tahitian scenescape, beach, palm trees laden with coconuts, a hammock, stick children playing with paper airplanes. In his place, might they travel to the outer edges of taxonomic brokenness?